morning, everybody, and happy 2025. It is a brand new year, and as promised, I am so excited to really kick off this new year with one of the most amazing guests that I feel like I've brought on personally. I've been super excited for this conversation. I think that everybody would probably recognize her name and the family that she has come from. Sin Setsochhata is the only granddaughter of the legend Elvis of Cambodia, Sinn Sisamouth. She is currently one of the leading artists in the new generation of Cambodian pop music and continues her musical journey while still honoring her grandfather's legacy. Growing in a musical household, she was exposed at a very early age in the ups and downs of being part of a famous family and growing up exposed to the music world. Today, we are here with her to discuss her experience through it all. Suchitao, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, hello from Cambodia, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes. We have a new one coming out, the Cambodian New Year coming out in just about 4 months in April, but this is the first one.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. Thank you for
yes,
having
me. Thank you. Tell me a little bit about your childhood growing up. How did you grow up? I know in a lot of other articles, especially the Rolling Stone article, which I had recently kind of posted about previously in the previous years, but you mentioned how you grew up in a very kind of musical household. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so actually, because I grew up in the musical household, not only my grandfather was an artist, my father, even my mom, and then my brother, they are all artists. They are all singer. So growing up in the musical household is like something that I've never acknowledged myself as one of the artists, among the family members, because I know that I have a voice. I can sing since I was young, let's say 7 or 8 years old. Back then, everyone knows that I can sing and I have a voice, but I never consider myself as an artist, or maybe having a dream of growing up being an artist. It's funny because, it's just like everyone always say that, oh, if your father or your family member, let's say being a doctor, you should be a doctor too, right? And me, same to me. Like people expect me to be an artist, but when I was young, I never thought that I would be an artist. But time changed. I mean, probably just because of a lot of stuff happening when we grow up. So even my perspective on seeing things also changed. But growing up in the musical household is something that it's memorable because I grow up in the morning listening to music, especially my grandfather's music. Like my mom's always play the music on, let's say, on the radio. Like she just turn on the radio and the radio plays my grandfather's music, or we just play the CDs or DVD on the CD player to just listen to his music. And more than that, I mean, I grew up listening to American R&B music as well. So it's a lot of music taste that I grew up with, not only the 60s and 70s Cambodian music. Yeah.
Is it hard then, you would say, to grow up with that kind of musical pressure? And you mentioned just now that you didn't really see yourself as an artist. Is there a reason why you kind of didn't take that on fully?
Just because I grow up seeing the hardships that my father went through, especially my father, because he was an artist, he was a singer, but back then we seemed not really get enough support. I mean, especially financially. So he need to going to the restaurant or the bar to perform at night, and he always came home late, let's say 1 a.m., 2 a.m., sometimes 3 a.m., and he always come back home getting drunk because working as a singer here in Cambodia at the night club, let's say night bar or restaurant, it's not that easy. I mean, you're not only be there to perform, You need to like, accompany the customer. Let's say like have one or two drink or maybe more, I don't
Right.
know. But he
Right.
always came home late and drunk. And, we suffer from how the society compare like my father to my grandfather. That's also what I
Hmm.
see and what I witness. And this is not only the thing that I can say that maybe being an artist is not one of my goal. Maybe being an artist is not one of my dream because I see like being an artist here in Cambodia is not that easy, and you cannot make a living by being an artist here in Cambodia. That's the main reason, Yeah.
Yeah. I learned about kind of the unfortunate kind of legal setups when I watched the movie Elvis of Cambodia, which I know is a documentary that you are a part of about your grandfather and about your family. And it's a topic that, I want to get to later on in the podcast, but just kind of the financial structures and the lack thereof and the
Yeah.
lack of support that Cambodia kind of has around the music industry and like artists. Why do you think it was then that your grandfather was able to succeed so well? Granted, of course, the talent and
Mm.
just like the legend that he's built, but structurally, if you look back on it, is it just, do you think it was also kind of like luck, or was there support back then versus now, or why was that?
To me personally, I mean, in each generation, there's always changes. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, let's say going back to the golden era of Cambodia, not only a musical industry, I can say that every industry here in Cambodia back to the 60 and 70, let's call it the golden era, everything
Right.
was like, well prepared, well structured, and everyone is like,
Mhm.
enjoy doing what they're doing or enjoy making their life, it's just like they just woke up and start working their job and they enjoy doing it. I can see it. I don't know what really happened there because I was not born in that era, but I can see and I
Right.
can tell. And plus what I heard from my grandmother and my mother as well, like I can say that the support within the community is really important. For example, like in music industry there, like back then, I used to hear it from my grandmother and other singer and artists from that era as well, saying that if you really need help, like let's say you compose a song and then you just
Mhm.
want the other artist to look up into it and then like, probably need their advices on that. They were just like, going to that person and ask them for advice. And that person gonna give you back the feedbacks and they respect each other advice and ideas. That's how we want to see it happen here right now, and especially in my father's generation. I mean, back to the 80s and 90s, it just like the period of time that we just came out of war and everything just like, let's say, starting from zero again. So
Mhm.
everyone needs help, and I don't know who can help who. It's really hard. So I can say that in my grandfather's era or the golden era, like the support is one thing that I can see, happening a lot, and how supportive they are to each other on like,
Mhm.
let's say succeed in one thing. So I mean the synchronization, or let's say like how they work together, is what I can see like, could help better each other works and career as well at the same time. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, just more structure in general
Yep.
around the different industries that were thriving at the time. And I think this kind of goes back to a topic that I always bring up on this podcast, which are like, the unfortunate after effects of post Khmer Rouge era and
Yeah.
having everybody to like rebuild all the, not only their lives, but like the industries that were also just destroyed and having to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And, we talk about how during the Khmer Rouge also like they targeted musical people. And it's like you go post war and you're trying to rebuild an industry in the arts when there's not a whole lot of people left. You mentioned the word legacy a lot. You mentioned the word destiny at times in some of your interviews. Can you talk a little bit about what that word means to you and how it ties in with your grandfather's legacy?
You know what, like growing up in the well-known family, especially let's just say everyone recognized my grandfather as the golden voice of Cambodia. Like that title, that name is more than anything that I can describe of how proud I am to be born in this family. But at the same time, when I say a lot about legacy, it's also the pressure. You
Mhm.
know, the word legacy is really a pressure, not
Mhm.
only the legacy itself. Because again, just like I just told you about how the society compared my father to my grandfather, you know, it's not that easy to live your life as an artist. It's hard already.
Right.
And when you live in the society of, you know, like I know that we cannot stop people from saying anything. We cannot stop people from thinking about anything. But at the same time, when the society put the pressure on you, for example, like you're the one who handle everything after your father, like the pressure is there, you can see and you can feel it, even if, like, you know, maybe my family haven't talked much about that. But I can say that whatever that my father done and what I'm doing as well, I think that is something that I like, you know, that's what I love. But at the same time, it just, I mean, like it has to be something more than just what I love. Because, I mean, I am here to preserve the legacy of my grandfather, but at the same time, I am here creating my own legacy. So it's not that easy. I mean, this journey is not an easy journey for me. But going back to see all of those legacy that my grandfather left for my family, I always feel proud, not only because I was born in the family to be his granddaughter, but I am proud because all of those works that he left for us, not only my family, but the whole Cambodian nation. I mean, like people enjoy his music, people still love his music. That's what I'm proud of, you know? So
Yeah.
carrying the legacy of my grandfather is really hard. But I think what is harder than that is creating my own legacy. And when it comes to my own journey and my own legacy, and that is also what I mentioned about, you know, the word destiny. Because again, I never thought that I would be an artist. But yeah, unfortunately, after my father and my brother passed away, I mean, I feel like the mission is not complete yet. I mean, their mission is complete. My father's mission is complete. My brother's mission is complete. But here I am, and here's my turn. It's time for me to complete the mission as well. And I feel like the mission is not completed yet. You know, after my father worked really hard, like let's say more than 10 years, to just for us to, you know, having the ownership of, you know, for now we only have 130 songs under our family ownership. So he worked more than 10 years just to get that. That was his mission. And right now, my mission is to continue working on that, but in another way. I mean, because like we're living in the digital world now, so we cannot just like, you know, have all of that under the ownership, but without digitalizing it. So, I mean, like this is my mission right now. Yeah.
Thank you so much also just for sharing that vulnerability. I know people outside who don't grow up in like a famous family probably don't realize the amount of pressure and don't see
Mm.
it. But you being in the family, it must be so difficult to feel like you're constantly being compared to like
Yeah.
the Elvis of Cambodia.
Yeah,
it's
right.
it's very it's like how are you ever going to surpass that, and how is even the
Mm.
pressure that your father even felt to like try to surpass that if you can. And as you said, there's so many nuances. It was a different time, it was a different
Mm.
era, it was a different structure, a different support system. When you say, you talk a little about ownership, does the family currently own the songs that Sinn Sisamouth
Mm.
had produced or not?
Okay, well, so for that, I mean, like right now here in Cambodia, we own 130 songs. Like, we got the rights, because like the intellectual property law just started back when it was like 2014, I think. Yeah. So that the family got the rights to own the song. First section was like 73 songs, and the second section we got more of like 57 songs. So right now we have 130 songs. But we don't own the sound recording.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's
Mhm.
also what my family is trying to figure out right now, how to, work on that, and probably how we could do that to make sure that everything is like we can claim it back, or let's just say that we can own all of that by ourselves. Yeah. So like right
Did
now that there's a lot more to figure out along the way.
Yeah, yeah. Back then, it's hard to know. Did your grandfather own the songs, or even then, no, because the you mentioned that the property rights didn't really start until intellectual rights didn't start until 2014, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's hard to say if he really what were the rights back then? Do we know that or no?
Not really,
Not
because
really.
I mean, but
Hmm.
but from my understanding, back then, for example, like currently, like here in 2024, let's say I work for the label, and then like the label own the master, the right of the master. But back then, in my grandfather era, for example, like the label want him to produce like 2 song or 3 song or 4 song, they pay him. They paid him
Hmm.
to sing on their label. So he's
Right,
meaning that my grandfather was not under any label. Like
right,
any label can, hire him to produce the song and release it
right,
under the label. So I'm not really clear about that. And that's also what I'm trying to understand as well on how it worked back then and how it worked right now. So
right.
it's a lot of things that I need to study and I need to discover more. Yeah.
Right. You mentioned the mission that you're on now is very much kind of related to learning, as you said, about the differences and the rights and making sure that I feel like the songs that your grandfather's songs are rightfully within the family. How does that mission relate to your mission of also just producing music? Where do they collide? I know you mentioned that you didn't really want to be an artist in the beginning, but you do produce songs, you do create songs. When you say your number one mission right now, would you say it's music and producing music, or would you say it's more on the path of like learning about intellectual rights and really kind of gaining that for your family? Or is it both?
For sure it's both. Because I mean like I mean like if I was not an artist right now, or maybe I haven't started my journey as an artist back then, probably the mission that I prioritize would be, just like, study more about intellectual property, and like,
Mm,
work on preserving my grandfather's legacy. But since I
right,
start my journey as an artist, I mean, like, I knew myself that I love to sing. I love singing. I love performing. I love performance as well. So, I mean, after being an artist, after the journey start, I just feel like creating music, performing, and like, let's say, it's just like even singing is also one of my mission as well. And
mm,
especially right now, my own journey as an artist, I can say that I start to see it clearer, because let's say back then I was still exploring what is my taste, what is my color, what is my type of music. But right now I
mm,
can say that I know my type of music, and I have the vision of how I want my music to sound like. I want my music to be, and also I want my whole art to look like. And also
mm,
what messages that I want my audience to receive back from me. So for example, like I mean, like since I start the journey as an artist, the trilogy that I produced with my former music label Clap Your Hands is actually the trilogy talked about my life, talked about my family, talked about my journey as an artist, on how I see being an artist in the bigger picture, and also the very first step that I step into this journey. So until that I start another journey as an independent artist earlier this year. Another song just came out, and that song, the message behind that was like, I want to focus more on mental health because, I mean, as an artist, we haven't, like, most of the time, people never ask us, like, how are you being an artist? How do you feel being an artist? It's not. It was just like, they only see us as a, entertainer. They just want us to entertain them, and that's it. And no one really care about how we feel. No one really asks of how could we make a living being an artist, right? So speaking up not only for my own self, speaking up not only about my feeling, but I start the journey of, like, start to spread out about and talk more about mental health is also for my audience as well. Because if I have the voice, not only the vocal that I can sing, but I have the voice that I can speak up for other. So raising the awareness of mental health and start talking about how you feel is something, it's also one of my mission. So right now I have two mission in my hands. So I mean, it's for sure, like, two things is not that easy of, like, which one I should prioritize, which one I should focus on. But at the same time, I need to balance it. Like, maybe I should take some time to focus on my career as an artist, to create more song, to produce more song, but at the same time to look back and to preserve the legacy of my family.
I think that is so brave to focus on the mental health aspect, because that's one of the things that I'm super passionate about, and my platform is all about putting light on mental health, especially for the survivors of the Khmer Rouge, but also, second generation people who were born in America like me, or in Australia or France. From my understanding, because I know you're based in Cambodia, mental health is just not really, it's still very taboo in Cambodia. It's
Yes,
still very
true.
not talked about, not in the same way that it is currently in America or in Australia. So I think it's very brave to kind of want to tackle that subject and use your voice and your platform in that way. Tell me a little bit about, kind of going back to your musical journey. You mentioned that
Yeah.
you dedicated the beginning to kind of exploration, and now you have kind of set in what you want your sound to be, what you want your look to be, what your message is. What is that sound? Well, I know you said the message is focusing on mental health. What have you decided at this point is the tone of your music?
Honestly, Bong, like I said, I grew up in the musical household, like listening to Khmer music, listening to American R&B music as well. So R&B is always one of my, favorite genre, and also one of my type of music as well. But lately I just see myself more into, like, soulful and jazz as well, and that's also what I'm trying to improve myself on, like, not only to compose the music that talk more about feeling, but to create the music, or maybe working with the producer to make music that talks feeling. Soulful and jazz is also is also the type of my music. And other than that, I mean, listening to my grandfather's music is also always bring me back to how he could see things in a different way than other singer or the other artists. Because even me myself, I haven't listened to all of his songs. So when I start to explore more of his music, I realized that, oh, he also make jazz music. He also sing jazz, but I never recognized it as jazz before. To me, it's just like Khmer 16, 17 music, and that's it, nothing
Right.
else. But
Right.
when I start my journey as an artist and I explore more of what type of music that I like, I can see that, oh, my grandfather did a lot of type of music. There are a lot of genre back then. So, I mean, to me, like going back to listening to his music, also one of my inspiration as well to explore more, to study more about my own type of music, but at the same time to explore more of how capable he was, like, creating different types of music. And that's what I still feel amazed about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people look up to your grandfather's music and listen to that music as the golden age and the time when things were happy before the war, but also just representative of like this thriving era. I know that I myself grew up with listening Sisama. My parents played the songs, and a lot of the listeners kind of grew up with the songs. In 2019, you remade one of his songs, right? The one from Battambang, one of your grandpa's greatest hits. My dad actually was born in Battambang too, so I thought it was just like that's all, personally like one of my favorite songs. How did that experience help you reconnect with your grandpa? And just in general, what was that like to re-sing the lyrics and the words and the songs that he sang back, 40, 50 years ago?
For me, Tumpapa Dumbong is always one of my favorite from my grandfather. And not only my favorite, but Cambodian people favorite, I can say.
Yes.
Because
Mm-hmm.
like everyone can sing that song, everyone knows that song. And it's like for sure, like it's easy to sing, it's easy to remember, it's catchy, so people kind of enjoy it. And of course, like it talks about Battambang and
Mm-hmm.
people from Battambang. Like I mean, I can say that Battambang is the city of arts. So when talking about Battambang, I can feel the spirit of arts from Battambang. And when talking
Mm-hmm.
about Battambang, I always feel excited because I know that the place that my grandfather grew up, because like he spent most of his teenage life in Battambang, not in his hometown, Stang Trang province. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, to remake my grandfather greatest hit is one of my honor. It's like my honor, and I feel people probably when I say that people not gonna believe it, but when recording that song, I when start singing Champapa Nambong, I feel that both of my grandfather and my father were standing behind me and guide me. Because, the remake of Champapa Nambong, it sounds jazzy. It's not like the original one. And talking about that, there's a lot of controversies about me as a granddaughter of Sinn Sisamouth remaking one of his greatest hit, but in another version, not one that follow the original one. There's a lot of controversies, but to me, I was ready when we start talking about remaking Champa Banambong in a jazz version. I was ready, and I feel like this is another taste of music which we can bring back the old taste of music to another one, the new one. And I feel like people talk a lot about that. Some said that, oh, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't ruin the song is already perfect, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that, or maybe you can just create your own song, just don't do that. But to me, before I start working on that project, let's just say I talked to him. I mean, I talked to my grandfather, like from here, because I cannot talk to him directly. But from here, I talked to him and I told him that, Grandpa, this is probably one of the things that let's say, it's risky, I know, but at the same time, I honor you in the name of one of the artists in the family, to remake your music, to remake one of the greatest hit of you. And I just want you to understand that I don't have any, even a thought of ruin your music, but I just want to bring it back. But I just want to make it my own version of Champa Batambang. And when I start talking to him like that, I mean, it helped. It calmed me down a little. And at the same time, I feel like maybe if my grandfather were alive, he would be 100% supportive, on what I'm doing, because he was brave enough to, let's say, create his own music, to start working on the new taste of music. For example, like Mahauri, we use a Khmer traditional instruments,
Mm-hmm.
but my grandfather made Mahauri Chnai, which he used, modern music instrument replace the traditional instruments. That's also one of the bravest thing that I can say, that he take a risk at that time to create something new. Why I cannot do that, So to me, there's like a mixed feeling of when I create the remake of Tumpapa Dumbong, but I feel like there's always something that inside of me telling me that if you are honest to your own purpose of doing something, you're not betraying your own self, then you'll be good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can see how anything you do, it's like people are always going to have an opinion. You know what I mean? People are
Right.
always going to have a way, it's something to say, good or bad. But I think if it's not you, who would be better at making a remake? Like, I mean, in my opinion, it's like if it's not the actual artist family member, then who is better to make the remake? I think something that people should remember, and as you mentioned, is like music is constantly evolving. You're never
Yeah.
going to get music is alive. It's living. It's constantly evolving and changing with the times. It's reflective of the generation. Was it your idea to do the remake, or did somebody like approach you to do that?
Oh, so for that remake, actually, it was the song that Bong Visal, like the founder of Clap Your Hands, like back then, he also was the producer for the film In the Life of Music. And Champapa
Mm.
Dumbong is the theme song of that film. So when he released it here in Cambodia, he just, back then I was not joined Clap Your Hand yet. I was not a member of Clap Your Hand yet. So he contacted me to do the remake of Champapa Dumbong. Actually, when we start working on that, there's like a few version of it. There's like a
Mm.
slow one. There's like one that is a little bit faster. But then when talking to a producer, I told him that I'm interested in jazz and I would love to try it. And then it was just like, yeah, he just like, jumping into making Jampabang into jazz. That's also the idea of the producer, and also one of my favorite type of music as well. So that's the combination of us like trying to give it another taste of Jampabang. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think it's so beautiful for you to recreate something that's your grandfather's and then putting your own modern spin to it. If it's something that you felt like you had the conversation with your grandfather with, and you felt like in your heart you had the approval from him, that's all you need, right? And I think that's beautiful that you are allowing yourself to kind of follow your instincts and follow your heart when it says it's okay to do it, and when you've had that conversation with your grandfather and he said yes. I think that is so beautiful.
Thank you.
You talk a little bit about the music industry in Cambodia. So, are you currently writing and producing your own songs? And what is kind of the music landscape like in Cambodia right now?
Honestly, like music industry here in Cambodia right now, I can say that it's growing and it's improving a lot, because
Mm.
let's say in the early 2000, we can see a lot of like Cambodian music, but it's like a copycat music, like people just translate, like back then, because we don't have enough resource of what is right and what is wrong. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like we can just like take that song and translate it and take it as our own song. That's what happened in the early 2000 here in Cambodia. But starting from around like let's say 2014 or 2015, I can say the movement. I can see the movement of they call it the original artists, but
Mm-hmm.
everyone is like original, I can say, but it's just like the name that they put for the artist, like original artist, the one who
Right.
create their own music. Yeah. So the movement is something that I can see, and I can see the hopes and the lights, for Cambodian artists, especially for music industry. I can see the lights from there. And currently I can say that music industry here in Cambodia is growing, even if it's growing slowly, but it's growing and it's a good sign. But another thing that I feel like we don't reach there yet is the support. Again, going back to
Mhm.
the very first, probably the first two questions that I answered, it's just like
Mhm.
I can see the supportive system, or maybe I heard it from the elder of how they support each other back then. I want to see that happen here in Cambodia right now because I can see that we lack of that. We lack of the supportive system, especially, let's say, the community of Cambodian artists right now.
Mhm.
I mean, it's competitive, but it shouldn't be competitive to the point where everyone just want to win each other. You know, we are the small circle of people. But let's say I would just go there and see everyone in the event. And then to the next event, I would see the same faces. It's just like we one day gonna work together. Why don't we just come together and create things rather than, compete with each other? The movement that I see from the original artists starting creating their own music, being creative and productive on, working on the music video and all that. I love to see that, but I want to see more of how supportive we are to each other. For example, like the latest music video that I make, the song. I mean, me and my team, we kind of lose hope at that time to looking for sponsorship because we
Mhm.
only need just like, let's say, a few $1,000 for making a great music video, a good looking music video. But it's really, really hard to reach out to sponsor that would have the same vision, would have the same goal as what we do. But it's really important on how we come together and find way, like figure it out on how we could make it possible. Like I would just say like we only have $3,000 on making the whole thing, not only for the music video, but for the art, experimental art performance as well. And that's also the key point of how we come together and create things like that. Because it's not only the music video itself, it's the arts. It's the experiment which talk about mental health, and that's also a
Mhm.
good message that we that me and my whole team, like I really appreciate on how everyone come together and create this kind of arts because we need more of that. I mean, like we can enjoy like dancing music, we still love that. I still love dancing music, but at the same time we need this type of music,
Mhm.
the message and the thing that we could give back to the audience on how impactful it is, to be an artist and give back to the audience. And to me, we still lack of that, I can say.
Mhm.
And on the other hand, I mean, I can see another point of view on how people see us, the artists, again. Probably they see us as the entertainer, but to me, an artist can be a teacher. An artist can be an like automatically we are the influencer. You know,
Or
it's
healers.
like yeah,
Mhm.
healers. I can say because at the same time when you come to be the face of one thing, for example, like you're the public figure, people gonna follow you, people gonna like look up to you, and at the same time people gonna let's say just do whatever you told them to do. So you
Yeah.
have the power, you have the voice. And I can say that the way that people see the artists here in Cambodia is improving as well. But I just want to encourage them to look deeper in that. because I mean, there's a lot more than just like a entertaining type of music and arts. There's a lot more that we need to explore. So, as an artist myself, I feel like that's also one thing that I need from the audience back to the artist. It's not like us, the artists, giving back to the audience.
Right. No, you brought up so many great points right there. Music is not only just for entertainment, as you said, but music can also be, with the right words and the right genre and the right instruments, can truly be healing. It can be connectivity. It could be, you can build community through music. You mentioned a lot about this lack of support. And the first thing that came to mind, and I don't know if it's like this in Cambodia, but in America here, within the Cambodian community, we call this mentality like crabs in a bucket. Have you ever heard of that
Mm,
word?
not really, not really.
Okay. So we call it crabs in a bucket because if you put all the crabs in one bucket, if one crab sees another crab climbing up, the other crab
Mm.
would grab it and pull it down. And
Ah, I
essentially,
see.
people say that in Cambodian communities, especially post war, I think a lot of it maybe has to do with the war, that during the war, since people could not support each other during the 4 year period, and they
Yeah.
really had to turn on each other, unfortunately, in some
Mm.
instances to survive, that mentality stuck with the Cambodian people. And post war, we never truly learned how to support each other again. And
Yeah.
in America, at least, there's this kind of mentality that's like, anytime I see someone doing good, I want to pull them down. Anyone time I see someone
Mm.
doing well, like who's Khmer, I want to be the best one. Like I want to be the best one, you
Mm.
know? And it's not the same kind of support that you would see amongst like, Latino or Vietnamese or Chinese people who it's like the moment you find another Vietnamese person and you're Vietnamese, it's like, okay, like we're brothers
Mm.
now. And
Yeah.
we don't feel that here, at least,
Mm.
Khmer's in America. It's something that we discuss about and talk about. This generation, us, we're trying to change that. But I wonder if that's is that something that you feel like you experience also in Cambodia itself?
Probably it's the same thing, you know, because I mean, from whatever experience that I went through these few years, I don't know if it's like true or not, but our generation, we're just like the generational curse breaker.
Yes.
And it's hard. It's
Yes.
hard. It's really hard. It's really hard.
Yes.
I just had another conversation with my mom the other day of, we talk a lot about life and we shared experiences from her generation and my generation. And I know that my mom is still like grieving from the loss of my father and my brother. But the other day, I talked to her and I told her that I want her to move on. I know it's not that easy, but I mean, she's like getting old day by day. And I just want her to live her life peacefully. I just want her to move on. And when I say move on, it doesn't mean that she needs to forget all of those like memories back then with the family. But when I said move on, I mean like probably she can just like, keep it there, keep it in the box of the memories and just living in the box of the present because the present is like a gift, like you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's gonna happen. Like we cannot predict what's gonna happen in the future. So I just wanted to live in the box of the present. And when I say that, I got emotional, and it's really hard for me to reconnect with my mom after my father passed away because I was so close to my father more than I was close to my mom, like a father's girl. So it
Yeah.
just like after my father passed away, it's hard for me to reconnect with my mom, but I tried my best, you know, like to start talking to her about my feeling, about my emotion, and I just want her to be there. I know that she's been through a lot already in her life, but here to talk a conversation between a mother and a daughter, but at the same time, the conversation between two women together who live in or who grew up in the different generations. So to me, when I mention we are the generational curse breaker, I mean, I don't know how do you feel about that, but to me it's heavy
Mm.
because we need to understand our parents' feeling, but at the same time we need to explain them how we feel and on how we could work together to make this work, you know?
Oh, yes. It is something that I constantly have discussions with a lot of my followers, and a huge
Mm,
topic that we talk about. Right now, we are calling it the Khmer Renaissance, is kind of the term that I feel like this generation is using, because it's like we didn't survive the Khmer Rouge, right?
mm,
Directly, but somehow we still feel some of the after effects of it.
yes.
And at the same time, we are the first generation that is just far enough away from the Khmer Rouge to where we can look back on it with a different lens
Mm,
and finally ask ourselves what happened there and how am I going to change this for my future generations and like my future kids or your future kids. And at the same time, it is incredibly heavy because it's like you feel the responsibility to also heal your parents, but you also have to heal yourself, and you have
yes.
to like juggle the two of them and figure it out along the way. It is not just you that is experiencing that, but I'm starting to learn, Bong, that I think it's the majority of
Mm,
Khmers our age that are dealing with this. And it's not just in Cambodia, like where you are, but it's in America where I am. It's the same discussion that I have with like French Khmer people that follow me
mm,
and like Australian Khmer people. And it's so crazy that like all of us are living in different parts of the world, completely different time zones and different cultures, but I think we all are feeling the same thing. And it's
yeah.
really difficult. We don't talk about it enough. There's not
Yeah.
enough conversations around it, which is a big reason why a big message of my platform too is like opening this conversation up. But it's just you're not alone, Bong. You're really not.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear this, you know, because I can say that even if I've been through a lot, but my mom did more than I did, you know.
Yes,
So
of course. Yes. Yes.
it's like again, like we need to juggle like how they
Right.
feel and how we feel at the same time, how to comfort
Yes.
them, how to heal them, but at the same time how to heal ourselves. So
Right.
it's not it's again, it's not an easy journey. It's not an easy generation for us, but I can say that I'm proud enough to say that we are the generational curse breaker because I know
Mhm.
what we're going to do. Like, because we don't want the next generation to feel the same, so that we are
Right.
brave enough to, you know, break the curse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is where it ends. Like we know we're going to have to do the hard work and it's going to be
Yeah.
difficult, but like it's okay because after this we should be better. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you lean on music to heal those parts of yourself?
Oh, I do. I do. I do feel that because not only that I am an artist myself, or not only I am the singer myself, or I wrote music myself, I composed music, but music also helped me to get through those moments that I consider like a tough moment for me. For example, like last year, I think that was the very first time that I experienced anxiety attack. I mean, I've never experienced that before, and I didn't even know what it is. Because again, I grew up in the family that, like, full of love, and my parents like give me enough love. And I never thought that the outside world would be that cruel, you know? But when
Mm.
we experience the real world, not the world, that the beautiful world inside of our family, like when we experience the real world, we see a lot of things like different from what we see when we were young.
Mm.
So to me, when I experienced that anxiety attack, that's the moment that I realized that at the end of the day, no matter what happened, you need to stand up and you need to get up again and face all of those things that's gonna happen to you. No one's gonna help you stand up. No one's gonna help you get up to start living your day again. It's you yourself. And that is also the reason why I wrote She. I wrote that song because I wanna dedicate that song to my own self. I wrote that song like right it like I mean even before I experienced that anxiety attack, but I just keep it away. I didn't have any feeling about it. But when I experienced that anxiety attack, I just go back to listen to my own song, the song that I wrote. It heals me,
Mm.
and I never expect that I could listen to my own music, my own song, and it could heal me. So, meaning that to me, music is a huge part of my life now. Not only because I grew up in the musical household, not because my grandfather is a singer, is a musician himself, not just because that I my father and my mother was also a singer, but music is a huge part of my life, and it plays a huge role in my life because it helps me healing. It helps me understand life. It helps me to, always like, going back to reflect in our life of what we've been through and to continue living as well. Like I cannot go a day without music. And I know that music help people in a different way. But to me, writing music, writing a song, composing a song could heal me. Also, listening to a song could also heal me. So I just hope that being an artist is can also be a part of healing people as well.
Mm. No, I think that's beautiful. It really just goes to show like how passionate you are, about music and your dedication behind it, and that there is a reason you're not just doing this because of the pressure you may feel from the family or because you have the expectation to be an artist, but it's a way to comprehend life for you. And
Yeah.
me not being an artist but a music lover, I 100% understand what you mean. Music is it has the capability to heal people. It makes other people feel like they're not alone through their journey, through their hardships. What do you think is next for you? I know that you had released your song She, and the music video is also out, right?
Yeah.
What is next for you, Bong? What do you see in your future?
Currently, like just because like after being an independent artist, I can say that I have more freedom of creating, and at the same time going back to what I've never done before. Because like right before I become an artist, I was a student of mass media and communication. And if I were not a singer right now, I would probably be, working in the advertising agency, in the production as well. That's what I always have a thought of seeing myself in the future. But when I start my career as an artist, I find it's really like, interesting on how we could bring all of those together and create like, a great arts for myself, but at the same time, like, going back to what I never thought that I could do. So in the future, I think other than being an artist, like composing music and song, I think there's a lot more that I need to explore. And of course, I need to express myself through all of that. Because I mean, like, I still love writing, not only songwriting, but I also love writing. So hopefully in the future, I could do something more than just creating music, more than just like, singing. I see myself doing more than all of that. And I just want to contribute back to the society on, again, talk more about mental health. In which way, I don't know, but I'll figure it out later. But for now, I mean, like, I just like, I'm doing my best to, again, cope up with my own feeling on how to deal with all of that, like, being in the musical family, but at the same time to, start creating more arts that would contribute back to the society. So, I mean, there's a lot more is going to happen next year, and hopefully I hope personally, I hope to involve more in film industry as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So like art in general, production,
Yeah.
music, movies, that sort of thing. I think we need more people to be pouring into Khmer art, right? There's a lot that was lost in the war in terms of
Mm.
artists, and at this point we need to kind of reestablish our sound, our culture, our music identity, our artistic identity in Cambodia. I think we're ready. And I think honestly, there's no other better person to really kind of push that forward, but you. I mean, you not only have the passion, but you also have, the background, the musical, growing up in a musical background. But then again, also most importantly, just like the message that you want to push out to, I think is so needed within the Cambodian community. So thank you, Bong. Thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on
thank
here.
you. Thank you so much for having me.
I
Like,
felt like
I hope that we have more time to, like, talk about all of this, because I mean, like, not only me as a Cambodian who live in Cambodia, but I mean, like, I need to hear more of for example, like you, the Khmer American, like, living there. I want to hear more of how you're dealing with all of that, because like you seems to go faster than us here in Cambodia, but at the same time, maybe whatever that we are doing right now, especially your podcast, thank you for creating all of this, and thank you for opening the conversation between both generation to talk more about, how we could heal each other. So I mean, I just hope that whatever that we are talking today could be something that, let's say, a message from me who live in Cambodia to people here in the state, and at the same time to people out there who really, really need to hear all of this. Because I know that you're not only doing this for, like, I know that's what you love, but at the same time, you are doing your best to help each other, to help other people as well. So I just hope that whatever that we are doing right now could heal people. Yeah.
yes, yes, I totally agree. And I think again, having more conversations like this and having more content about mental health and how it is super important, especially for our generation, and how hard it is for our generation. The guilt that we feel also for even speaking, right? We we
Yeah.
we mentioned how, like, okay, like our parents definitely survived something greater. Like we already know that, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a story to tell either. That doesn't mean that
Yes.
our pain is not important either,
Yeah.
A lot of people out there feel that it's like they don't want to talk or they don't want to share because they feel guilty about it, right? They feel guilty and
Yeah.
shame to even say or complain about anything. But that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to find the healing point. We're trying to
Yeah.
find where we can both connect and heal each other. So again, no, thank you so much, Bong, for being so vulnerable today and like sharing that. I think just like other people and listeners hearing it from you and hearing it from that the fact that, even though you grew up in kind of a famous family, and everybody knows your grandfather's last name, you still are struggling just like the rest of
Yeah.
us. And we are all, doesn't matter what family you're born into, or it doesn't matter whatever
We have different
you
stories, you know.
yeah, we all experience that same generational pressure. So
Yeah.
again, no, thank you so much for coming on, Bong. I think this was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me
Thank
as well,
you.
Mom. Yeah. And it's good to talk to you.
You too.